Hello, everyone. I'm Kimberly Washburn-Mott. I'm the Arts Learning Director at the South Carolina Arts Commission. It's my pleasure to welcome you here today to the business of being a teaching artist. This is our third webinar in the series. So if you have not seen the first two, please do go back to our YouTube page. I'll drop a link in the chat to that channel where we keep all of these recordings so that you can always refer back to them. This session today is about marketing your teaching artistry business. So you're going to be learning tips and tricks today for communicating your talents, identifying and targeting your audience, and setting achievable goals for your teaching artistry. It is also my pleasure today to welcome Jef Lambdin. He's going to be leading our session today. Jef is a teaching artist who shares workshops and residencies in mime, theater, math, circus arts, playwriting, ensemble techniques, melodrama, commedia dell'arte, as well as arts integration. He, along with Sheila Kerrigan, who's also in here today, is a founding member of the Southeast Center for Arts Integration. In 2010, he attended the Lincoln Center Institute International Educator Workshop. He was a North Carolina A+ Fellow from 2005 until 2021. We are excited to welcome Jef today to talk to us about marketing his teaching artistry or your teaching artistry business. Thanks. It's yours, Jef.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. All right. Hello, webinarians, near and far. Welcome to the South Carolina Arts Commission's third professional development workshop for teaching artists, and it is titled The Business of Being an ArtsGrowSC Teaching Artist, Marketing Your Teaching Artistry. And if you notice, I am broadcasting today from the beautiful studios at Clinton Elementary School in Lancaster, South Carolina, courtesy of Nancy Noel, the music teacher. Let's give it up for Nancy. Yay. Thanks for making this work. Okay. You've met Kimberly and Amanda. They're both work at the South Carolina Arts Commission, and they are your contact people there. And they will be involved when we're answering questions today. And so get to know them so that if you need to reach out to somebody at the Arts Commission, these are the two individuals that can help you. We are today working on the concept of marketing, and specifically relationship marketing. Now, I and the South Carolina Arts Commission, we all realize here today we have teaching artists that run the gamut of ability and knowledge. We know some of you are beginning, we know some of you are seasoned professionals, and we're going to try to share information that all of you can use. As Kimberly said, we do it during the session today. We'll introduce a topic, and then at the end of each topic, there'll be time for questions. If you have a question or a comment, we'd love for you to write it in the chat or raise your electronic hand. You guys all know how to do that? It's down under reactions. If you click on reactions at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a little hand. If you just go like this, I won't see it. When we get 30 people here, I won't see you raising your hand. Yes, Yasu just raised his hand, and that puts you at the top of the queue in my view. So I know you have a question. So if you would do that when you have a question, that would be helpful. All right. Let's go to slide 1. All right. Now, please realize this is a 3-year project of professional development for teaching artists. We're currently beginning year 2 of the project, and this is our third webinar about the business of teaching artistry. And if we don't get to all your questions here, or if you have questions later, please feel free to contact me at my email address, which is down at the bottom of the screen, or my phone number, which is down at the bottom of the screen. I happily respond to all emails and calls. So we're here to help. All right, let's go to the next one. As Kimberly said, if you were with us during webinars 1 and 2 back in February and April, We covered many topics considered to be the nuts and bolts of teaching artistry, as well as the educational standards involving teaching in South Carolina schools. If you missed the last webinars, or if you want to refresh yourself about those topics, all of the webinars that we share, including this one, are being recorded and will be available on the South Carolina Arts Commission's YouTube channel, which is conveniently on the slide in front of you. Let's go to the next one. This is me. This is what I do. I am a performer, and I make my living as a performer. I perform for children and families at fairs and festivals throughout North and South Carolina, Georgia, Virginia, and Tennessee. And these photos are a good representation of a day with me. Let's go to the next one. As well as performing, I share workshops and residencies for students and teachers. I offer residencies in mime, variety arts, playwriting, theater mask, ensemble, commedia dell'arte, and arts integration. So that's why I'm a teaching artist. I'm a working artist who also teaches. Let's go to the next one. I thought just here at the beginning, we should understand who I am talking about. This webinar focuses on teaching artists in South Carolina. Every state, every nation, and many localities have different definitions of a teaching artist. This is the one for South Carolina. So what you want to do if you want to be a teaching artist in South Carolina is become an artist in the directory by applying. And then if you want to, you can even be applied to be a certified teaching artist. And that's a process that you do, and Amanda can tell you all about that. Okay. So this is a teaching artist. And now let me give you the definition about marketing. This is my quick and simple definition of marketing, all right? Now, it's not a diverse one. It is just very simple, just so we're all on the same page. Everybody soak that up? Good. Okay, let's stop sharing the screen. So, what questions do you have so far? About teaching artistry, about marketing, anything at all? Okay, we're going to go on. Now, I'm going to do a quick survey with all of you. I want you to consider something. I want you to think about what you already do to market yourself. And if you could name one element of all the things you do marketing yourself, what's your strongest element? What's the one that gets you the most work or you believe is most effective? And I'd like for you to write it, your strongest marketing element, in the chat. Okay. And if we could go to the next slide while we do this, Amanda, it outlines the language I just used. There you go. Type it into the chat and we'll check it out. Chat. Does everybody know how to type in the chat? Showing folks examples of what I do because words often do not suffice. Excellent. My work garners work. Yes, Sheila, absolutely correct. Networking at events. Yes, good. Good, strong choices. Singing a song for an audience. Doing what you do, that's great. I'm going to a school showcase, yes. Showcases, conferences, Yasu, perfect. Okay, now you guys, these are all really strong answers. And I want to bring this about. If we could go to the next slide, please, Amanda. I recently attended the Artist Expo in Wake County, North Carolina. There were over 50 artists and arts groups in attendance, and we each had a booth, and we showcased, and there were representatives of the schools that were buying us. And since there were so many teaching artists there, I took the liberty to walk around the exhibit hall and ask my colleagues the question I just asked you. And this is how they responded. It's not surprising to me that the top responses were word of mouth and doing good work, and then attending a showcase or conference and being in a directory, because those are the 4 really strong elements that you need to focus on if you are a teaching artist. How you do it is your own way. Everybody has their own way to market themselves. Different people feel like they need to market themselves to the arts teachers. Others think administrators are the ones they communicate best with. Others think district arts coordinators are their way. And we all have our own way, and demonstrating, singing for the audience, all of that goes into doing good work, right? And as Sheila said, doing good work garners work. Okay, now think about it for a moment. When one of our customers or clients, all right, like a teacher or an arts coordinator or a principal or a district arts coordinator, when they begin looking for a teaching artist for a particular program or a particular school, they are not going to begin by going to the internet and typing in teaching artist, dance, because they will get too much junk, right? The result would be overwhelming, and none of the artists are applicable until they're in the South Carolina Arts Directory, South Carolina Arts Commission Arts Directory. So that's where they start. 9 times out of 10, I was just talking to a couple teachers this week. I said, where do you start? And they said, well, first we talk to our teachers and find out what art form they want. And the first place we look is the Arts Directory. Being in a directory gives you credibility and trustworthiness, because every person in the directory has been vetted. When we go on the internet, we're outside of that vetted area, right? We don't know who's there. So please take it to heart when I recommend that as a teaching artist, you always do good work and you always provide great customer service for your clients. We were talking about this here at the school this week because of an artist that has been run into here. There is no place in teaching artistry for artists that don't have their act together, or artists who are, how do we say it, difficult to work with, right? Because teachers, schools, you are just one little part of what they do, and they want to work with somebody they can trust, they know will be there, and they know what you will do. And I cannot stress that enough. We all have to be the poster children for teaching artists so that other teaching artists will benefit from our work. Okay, so stop the share. What questions do you have? If you want to raise your hand or type them in the chat.
While people are thinking about potential questions, I also just want to throw in that as a member of the South Carolina Arts Directory, you would be eligible to receive funds from a school or an arts organization that gets grants from us. So our grants do require that the grantee use a member of the Arts Directory. So just another little pitch for being on the directory.
So
What are
we're
the
good so far?
requirements? Sorry, what are the requirements for getting into the directory? What sort of things do you need to have?
So it's an application process. You can look on our website to kind of get a little bit more information, but any artist is eligible to apply. You're going to be asked for information about your practice. You'll be asked for your resume, an artist statement, because initially getting on the directory is looking at you as an artist. So you're showing your artistic excellence. It's going to ask for work samples as well as 2 letters of recommendation. So those are often the pieces that people need to get in order you may not have on hand. And then once that's all submitted, it is reviewed by 2 of our directors within the agency who will evaluate the application, and you'll receive word of whether you've been approved or denied to join the directory. Everyone has to go through that initial process, and then you are established with an arts directory number. You have your own page with your bio on it, and your whatever photo that you've submitted. There's also a space for reviews. So as you are starting to work with schools or with community partners, they can upload reviews on your page. So it's essentially a marketing tool for yourself then. And then there's a separate process to become a certified teaching artist, which is an additional application that goes to show your skill as a teacher as well. We know not every artist is going to have that skill of teaching their art. So it goes and asks for you to show lesson plans and a recorded observation of you doing your craft with students. Additional letters of recommendation specific to your teaching artistry. So that's a whole separate process. You can be listed on the directory with that initial application. Sorry, there's a lot of information. Let me know if I missed anything.
And then what Amanda didn't say is, then every so many years, you get to do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah, so because things change, you change, and they want to update their information.
Yeah, it's a 3-year certification process. So once you're on the directory, you're there for 3 years. Once you're a certified teacher, you're there for 3 years. And I also wanted to add to what Amanda said, that once you become a certified teaching artist, you do get an enhanced web page on our arts directory. So teaching artists are going to be able to have information like what types of residencies they offer, what types of things they offer to teachers outside of the residency, like maybe a pre-lesson planning document or post-lesson plans. So you'll really be able to talk directly to teachers about what you offer.
Good. Kedrin, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that was great. That was very helpful. Thank you.
Good. Yasu, you had your hand up.
Yes. Sorry. Thanks so much for sharing those. I have a question for I don't know if this is the right timing. Kimberly and Amanda. Is there any discussion of like having a school showcase or like some kind of booking conference? Or I know in 90s you guys used to have it or something. I would love to participate something event like that. But is there any kind of discussion going on, or anything performer side can perform? I don't know, teaching artist side can provide help or support?
We are not currently doing a booking conference. We have done it in the past, especially right now in sort of the climate of education. It's really difficult for teachers to get subs to even come to something like a booking conference right now. It will probably not come back in that in-person format, but there may be a place for teaching artists to be able to sort of advertise and showcase their work in a virtual teaching and learning sort of setting. And so there are ideas that are ruminating, but not back in that original booking conference format.
Thank you so much. Something like even in the virtual space would be so helpful, because what I do, it's so not typical like Japanese storytelling.
Yeah.
So many teachers don't know until I work with it. Like, oh, now I see it. So if there is the platform that I can show my work, or other teaching artists can show work, that would be so helpful to, I think, teaching artists. I don't know. Thank you. Sorry.
Of course, and on your directory page, you'll also have the opportunity to, if you have a website that has any of that information, all of that can go on your directory page. So if somebody, the other thing about the directory is that it's searchable. So let's say that someone wants a storyteller to come into their classroom, they can just search the word storyteller, and anyone who has sort of flagged that would pop up on the directory. So you would be able to be found that way, and then they could link to your website or any other kind of place where they might be able to see those types of video demonstrations.
Good, Yasu? Yeah. And I see RD has put in the chat, word of mouth makes sense. It's also the most difficult to solicit from my perspective. Do you have a ways and means of acquiring more word of mouth? Well, this is the way that I see word of mouth happening in arts education places. You go into a school and you do the work, and the people at the school see it and experience it. And whether it's the principal comes in and maybe the district arts coordinator whom you have invited, right, to come to your workshop because you're in their district, and any of the other local arts teachers, local PTAs, you've invited them, of course, to see your work. That's one way to elicit word of mouth, is by getting people other than your client to experience what you do. And the other thing is, all of these people talk to each other, right? The music teachers get together and they talk about, what did you do? What did you do? How did you do it? And they actually listen to each other and ask for recommendations. This happens with principals. This happens with arts teachers. This happens with arts coordinators who have their own meeting and do their own chat, and district arts coordinators. It even happens on a statewide scale if you present at a conference, and I'm going to talk more about that later. Yeah, substitute elicit for solicit. Oh, I see. Yeah, to elicit. Okay, got it. I'm seeing you made a correction. All right. Does that help, RD? I don't see you, and so type in something if that, note to self. Yeah, for when I reread. Okay. Is that good? Okay. And I'll talk more about that as we go along in this hour and a half, about who to talk to, how to talk to them, and when you're working, how do you get more bang for your buck? Okay. Anything else? Does anybody raise your hand? You can put your hand down, Yasu, and type it in the chat. Good. All right. Let's go on. Okay. The purpose of marketing. All right. You market because you want to get people interested in your work. It's that simple. And in order to market yourself, you have to analyze your market, which is the schools in South Carolina, because we're teaching artists in South Carolina. And you want to research what the customers want, what do they need, and who else is offering services, so that you know where you fit. And then you need to contemplate these interests. And that's something that takes a lot, the most work is, okay, I've got this information, now what do I do with it? And then you have to message. And the messaging you choose is designed to attract your clients or customers. Okay. Now, you want to determine who you want to reach, what they might want, and why. And all of these elements, every single one of these four, are hopelessly intertwined. You can't do one without doing the other. And you'll find that the process of marketing is a lot of thoughtfulness and then action. All right, let's go to the next slide, please. All right, I contend that if you want to be a successful teaching artist, you should focus your marketing work on 3 audiences. Your customers or clients, right? Those are the folks who actually hire you. Then the influencers. As with any business, there are people who don't actually hire you. that if they know about you, will be able to get you work, right? They can recommend you, they can talk you up. They know your work because they have seen it, right? And the influencers are people that teachers and arts coordinators go to, like the district arts coordinator, like the people at the South Carolina Arts Commission, right? If they know your work, they can recommend you. And the third category is your competitors. Now, these are other teaching artists and also artists who are colleagues involved in arts education. Some artists prefer not to be teaching artists. They just educate in their own way. Maybe they do workshops in their home, pottery classes, and you're a potter also that does a particular technique, and they will use that. So these are the three key audiences. All right. Now, within these three audiences, let's begin our conversation with the big question. How do I find the people who can further my career? How can I get more work? Who are these people who can actually hire me to provide my teaching artist services? Now, here is where all of the dragons are, right? According to greatschools.org, in 2022, South Carolina had 74 public school districts and 3,679 schools. And that includes public schools, private schools, charter schools, and preschools. So determining who you want to talk to is key, because you can't possibly get in touch with everyone. You need to decide your focus and gear your marketing techniques towards those people. Now, here's what we do. We data mine. There is no list you can buy which indicates which schools have arts teachers, which schools hire teaching artists, or which schools have money to hire teaching artists. They don't exist. However, you as a teaching artist can whittle down this 3,000 and some schools to a manageable bunch by considering who is the audience for your work. And you're the only one that can do that, right? All right, let's go to the next slide and I'll show you this. I break it down into 5 components, right? 3 are geographic, local, regional, statewide. 2 are conceptual, the Arts Magnet schools and the South Carolina ABC project schools, right? If I want to work in my local community, I research the local schools and try to find who might be interested in my work. Some artists only work in their local communities, and that's fine. If you live in a metropolitan area like Greenville, like Columbia, you can make your living staying at home. There are enough schools and enough people interested in arts education that you can do that. If you're somebody like me who lives in a rural community, you've done that and you've still got 20 weeks to book. So you look at your region, right? The Sandhills, the upstate, right? And I research the schools and the school districts in the region, right? And then if I want to work throughout the state of South Carolina, you expand your research to include schools and districts throughout the state. Now, the 4th one, Arts Magnet schools. Different districts have different magnet programs at different schools. Some are arts, some are STEAM, some are only math. This is a math magnet or a science magnet. And they list them in their school, in their district. All right, I'll talk more about that later. All right. And then if you want to find, if you look at these and you say, okay, I want to do local schools, right? Let's start there. Say that I'm living in the Lexington 5 school district, right? And I happen to live in White Rock, South Carolina. So that's why I'm in the Lexington 5. Let's go to the next slide. This is where I start. Every school district has a homepage. And this is typical to what it looks like. This is the homepage of Lexington District 5. Now, if you notice, one of the topics at the top, right, is our district, departments, resources, right? One of them is our district. If I click on that, a drop-down menu appears and it says schools. I click on the schools and go to the next slide. A list of schools appears. And it gives you a phone number. It gives you an address. It gives you a URL for the school. This is the beginning of your data mining, okay? This is how you start. If you're in your local community, you find the schools, and this is how you begin finding who to contact, okay? Now, I went through this list, and I chose a school in Lexington 5, in which I did a 6-week residency in both 1985 and 1986, Nursery Road Elementary School. I clicked on the URL next to the Nursery Road, and this pops up. Next slide, please. The Nursery Road Elementary homepage, right? This gives you the same information: website, phone, address, and the principal's name. So now you have a name of somebody in that school. I click on the website and we go to the next slide and I get this, right? This is the home page of Nursery Road Elementary School. Now I've gotten down to the school level. I want to find out what kind of teachers they have, what kind of arts program they have, what kind of administrators they have. So I go over to the part that says our school here at the top on the left. All right, on that banner. And when I get it, and from there, all right, I get on our school, a drop-down menu comes down and I get staff directory. I click on staff directory and it appears. If you notice, each staff member entry includes the name of the person, what they do in the school, and an email to use to reach them. All right. Now, you can use the search function right at the top. It says name, title, locations. You can use that and try to find if there are arts teachers, or you can go through the whole list. And I would recommend that because different schools name their specialists differently. Some of them just call their dance teacher a teacher, but it says teacher dance, right? So you go through the list, and scrolling through the list, this is the information I gleaned when I went through this list. I found the information about their principal. I found out that they have a dance teacher, they have a music teacher, and they have a visual art teacher. They do not have a drama teacher, which makes them a perfect client for me to approach because I'm a theater artist, right? I contact them and I say, I see you are doing great work in dance and art and music, and I can supplement that by coming in as a teaching artist and providing drama instruction with my mime or mask or whatever else. This information is invaluable, and you can find it out about every single school in your locale simply by doing this. I see everybody busily writing and writing things down. Let's stop the share for just a moment. Okay, that's a lot. That's data mining for one school district, and you would go to those schools and figure it out, right? You go to the school, you see who they've got, and they may be the school down the street, they may be the school across town, but this is how you find the right people to talk to message when you message them. So what questions do you have? Raise your hands, type it in the chat. do a
Jeff,
little
I have a
Googling.
question for you. So when you get down to that directory list, do you find you have most success when you reach out to all of the arts team, or do you have most success when you reach directly out to the principal? Who do you find you get the most responses from?
Good question. Since theater is most like dance, I would contact the dance teacher and light a fire, and I would copy the principal. But my main email or letter, if I send a letter, I would send it to the dance teacher. There are people that will say that email marketing is the be all and end all to our virtual world. We're finding that less and less true. Sheila's shaking her head. Now, we used to say when you did a direct mail, this is back in the day when you did direct mail, that 3 days after you mailed out your 4,000 letters, you heard the plunk of 3,850 of them hitting the trash can, right? Unfortunately, with digital media, when people go delete, 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 you don't hear it. You have no idea. So different people, I swear by old-fashioned letter writing communication, and it works for me. Other people really use email marketing, and they use MailChimp, and they use Instagram, and they use all of the platforms, and they find that they get work that way. So I'm loath to recommend one over the other, but you need to do what works for you. Any questions? Yasu?
I think that's a great point, because if you use like somehow get the email list in the MailChimp and then do like massive email things, sometimes in teacher's folder it directly go to the spam. But if you individually email, like your approach, I think it will go to their email, and then they have more successful rate, I think, opening, because it's personal, not just like massive.
Right. And also, what I'm teaching you is target marketing, not blast marketing. If you find out the likely candidate who would be receptive to what you have to message, you're more likely to get a response than sending out 500 to people you don't know what they do. You're absolutely right. Okay. Now the next thing, right? Let's go to the next slide. Say I still live in White Rock. I still want to work on Lexington 5, but how do I find the influencer? How do I find someone to build a relationship with that's not at the actual school? So here I am at the District 5. This is where we started last time, right? The District 5 website. And I click on departments right up here at the top banner, right? And it gives me this. And I look at it and I go, okay, now what do I do? Which department would be involved with a teaching artist? So I make a good guess. It might be Office of Operations. It might be Social Work Services, but I would click on Office of Academics and Administration. Now, before we go to the next slide, you need to know that every school district names their departments different names. So this is where you just gotta do trial and error. Try this one. Nope, it's not special services. It's not youth and family services, which is for the 4-year-olds, right? That you gotta figure it out. And that takes a little bit of work. All right. But in District 5, I would click on Office of Academics and Administration, and this is where we go. And if you look down at the bottom on the right, you find that Sarah Wheeler directs the magnet programs. She's the woman to talk to. Okay. Now, when I talk to her, I've got to have something I know. You always want to have knowledge when you go into a discussion, right? So look on the left-hand side at that little list, that banner list. It says choice and magnet options. I would click on that. And if I click on that, it tells me the 3 magnet schools in the county, in the district. One of them is a STEAM magnet, and that's Leapart Elementary at the top. The leadership magnet, not who I'm interested in. But down at the bottom, I find out that Nursery Roads is an arts magnet on top of the fact that we already looked at them. Those are your 2. STEAM stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And those are the 2 schools that are most likely to hire a teaching artist, right? And so I would then contact Miss Wheeler and say, hey, I'm a teaching artist and I'd like to talk to somebody at Leapart or Nursery Road. Who would you recommend? You know, I'd like to get to know them. I'd like to find out more. They're in my community, right? This is my local school district. All right, let's go on. If I want to find people outside of the schools who can also help, I turn to the arts councils. And now I've moved. I'm not in White Rock anymore. I've moved to Greenville, South Carolina. The Metropolitan Arts Council of Greenville is the place to look. And I would just click on About, and it gives me a drop-down menu of staff, and look, I find that Kimberly Sims Gibbs is the Director of Arts Education. I get in touch with her and find out what that means. Every arts council does it a different way. Kimberly, what do you do as the Director of Arts Education? I'm an artist. How might I fit in some of your programs? This is the person to talk to. All right, is this making sense? Yeah, good. All right, so now we've covered how to determine your target marketing in 4 of the 5 categories. Let's go to category 5, the arts in the basic curriculum project schools. All right, let's go to that slide, please. All right, the arts in the basic curriculum schools. They provide leadership to achieve quality, comprehensive arts education in dance, music, media arts, theater, visual arts, and creative writing for all the students in South Carolina. All right. Now, this is not a standalone institution. It's cooperatively directed by the Arts Commission, the Department of Education, and the College of Visual Arts, Visual and Performing Arts at Winthrop, right? And this is their website. As you can see, Amanda has put her little cursor right next to what you would click on. Schools. You want to know the schools that are ABC sites. You click on schools and you get a list of the schools. These are all of the people that get grant money from the state to do arts education style schools. They have arts education as a model in their schools. They are very likely to hire teaching artists. All right. So let's stop the share. Questions? Too much information? Yes, Carol. You'll need to unmute yourself. No success? Type it in the chat.
Should be at the bottom left hand of your screen, that little microphone symbol. You can just click that, it should unmute you.
Mute. Did it do it? Yes. No, I think
Yeah,
all of these
good.
are very good information points, especially about the magnet schools. I hadn't thought about the magnet school and the division of, that's very important. Yeah, for the teaching artist. That's wonderful.
Good. Anybody else? Yasu.
Thank you. It's really mind blowing that your target marketing. I learned a lot. I have a question. So you said who to reach out to, why we are doing it. But I have a question. When is the most effective time for marketing? Is it too late to talk to those schools for this school year?
This year, things may happen, but most of the prime times to book arts education residencies are the spring, when people are looking towards their next year and they want to make sure certain weeks are used by their artists. I know here at Clinton Elementary, right? They contacted me in April, and there are many schools that do that. So by the summer, over half of my weeks are already called for. The next time period is the week that the schools open for teachers. That's when the committees get together at the schools and talk about what they want to do for the year. That's the other time. So I make sure, and I research that. I find out when do the Greenville schools open for the teachers, not for the students. That's too late. It's usually a week before the students. And I make sure there's an email or a letter on the desk of the people I've targeted on that first day that they're back, not before, because they're still figuring out which mailbox to put things in. Once they start, get it to them so you are a part of their discussion. Those are the two most important times. Have any of you found other times that are equal? Sheila, talk to us.
I don't know if you can hear me, but my experience is always later than yours. I think I book with schools that are like behind the curve as far as their planning goes. So sometimes a school will call me a month before they want me. So I think there can be a wide range. So I've been doing marketing now, and people are starting to ask me about this coming spring. So that's my experience.
That's good advice.
I have a question to Amanda and Kimberly. Is this grant year around, or is there a due date to apply?
So one of the grant that we were talking about earlier is called the School Arts Support Grant, and it is a rolling grant. So it's open through the spring. There are deadlines each month, so teachers can apply to, we ask that they apply at least 5 weeks before they're going to need those funds. So they could be looking through November, December right now for booking, if they wanted to use those funds for a residency. So yes, if that's something that, as you're speaking with schools, you can direct them back to our website to let them know, if you're coming against teachers saying we don't have the funds this year, you can direct them back and let them know there are grant funds available that could pay for a residency. One thing I will caution with the School Arts Support grant, if they're using funds to support a residency, there has to be some piece of professional development integrated into your residency. So some peer-to-peer training time. So it doesn't need to be an entire workshop, but I just have that conversation with teachers. If they're going to be applying for that grant, they need to note that I'm going to be meeting with Yasu at the beginning of this residency and at the end of the residency to talk about ways that I can continue this in my classroom teaching, a way that we know that this is going to continue to impact their classroom after you're gone. So just keep that in mind as you're speaking with teachers.
We have two other grants that can support teaching artists. One is called the Summer Art Education Project Grant, The other is called the Term Art Education Project Grant. And those are grants directly to arts organizations that are providing educational services or programming. So you might be a teaching artist that goes into a museum to work in a community or to a community center, not necessarily into a school system. And those grants do have strict deadlines. They're not rolling. Our summer grant last year, I believe, closed in November. So the arts organization would have to apply by November for funding for the following summer. And then our Term Art Education Project Grant, which supports programs throughout the school year, again, with arts organizations, not with schools, just through the school year. That grant is usually due around January. So the grant funding would actually start in June, July.
And you guys, this is important because one of the things that you encounter as a teaching artist, when you find a client that's interested and they say they don't have the money, you need to know what grants they can apply for. And I will shame the devil and tell the truth. I have written the grant for them before and given it to them ready to go. So all they have to do is submit it with their signatures. And that's shameless, but that's a chance. You know, I'm hoping that we can work this out and it works. And as an artist, a teaching artist, there's no shame in that, right? You are helping them to know their resources better and guiding them as well. So you have to keep up on all of the things at the South Carolina Arts Commission, at the ArtsGrowSC site, which is changing weekly, right? All of a sudden there's a new grant program on it. We don't yet know when the summer arts grants are because they're not on the website. We only know when they were last year. So they should be posted soon. So as an artist, you keep refreshing yourself on all of this in South Carolina. And it's not just with the State Arts Commission. You have to, your local art, like the Metropolitan Arts Council may have grants for teachers. And you have to know all of this in order to help market yourself. And you get to do your art too.
Yay. And I'll just echo one more time too, like with the school arts support grant, again, you have to be on the arts directory to be an eligible artist for those schools to work with. And same with those ABC schools, ABC certified schools, if they've gone through that certification process, they receive an ABC advancement grant through the Arts Commission. And oftentimes there's a chunk of those funds that are allocated for teaching artists. But again, those teaching artists have to be on the directory for those ABC schools too.
Excellent advice. And I see that Kimberly has put the links to the South Carolina Arts Commission website and the ArtsGrowSC website right here for you. Those are the two, and I check them weekly because I was surprised a couple of weeks ago when they increased the amount of money you could get for the school arts grant, right? And I went, oh boy, that's good news. So refresh yourself. It's a process. There's no end to it.
And for those who may not be familiar with what ArtsGrowSC is a collective impact. The South Carolina Arts Commission serves as a backbone organization, sort of a communication hub for a network of partners around the state. And a lot of those partners are using teaching artistry. So I do encourage you to explore the ArtsGrowSC website, take a deeper dive there. You will find the information about the Arts Commission's grants on ArtsGrowSC, but you'll also find other partners that you might be able to connect with.
Good. And I see Sheila has said, am I going to talk about conferences? Yes. A little later, I will do a whole spiel. So yes, the benefit of being involved in the conferences and organizations. Good, good, good. And Amanda has just posted another
link to
good
the arts directory information there.
There you go. There you go. You guys are valuable resources. Okay, anything else before we move on?
Sorry, one more. Shame on my ignorance, but Amanda and Kimberly, could you educate me? So for this artist, a school art grant, is it 1-1 or 1-2, or is it Title 1 and 3, or like what's the portion of the you guys support? I'm sorry, I should know, but please teach me.
Are you talking about with like a match requirement? So it's a 1-2 match unless they are a Title I school, or if they're 70% poverty or higher. So we have that list is actually posted. We go off the Department of Education's numbers every year. So you can see which schools qualify for no match too. And that's helpful information too, to let schools know you can get this money with no matching funds.
And that's another thing you have to do as a teaching artist, is you have to keep abreast of that, because that changes every year. It doesn't change during the year, but it changes year to year, and you got to keep track. Helpful? All right, let's go on. Getting your foot in the door. Let's have the next slide, please. All right. Now, there's some information here for beginning teaching artists, and then later on, some for teaching artists who've been around. All right. You need to think of your marketing efforts as building a relationship, right? Like making a new friend. You want to communicate that you not only do your work, but you appreciate what they do as well, what they bring to arts education. And then you can let them know what services you provide, and it becomes a conversation. There's another element to this: trustworthiness. When you communicate with people and when you do your work, you must do what you say you're going to do, period. If you don't, that word of mouth will be not pretty about you not doing what you said you would do. Trustworthiness is imperative, and that's a relationship that you're building at that point, to get somebody to trust you. Okay. Now, if you're a beginning teaching artist, your focus will be on getting to know potential people and customers and what they want. Now, as you get to know them better, you can also positively communicate how you as a teaching artist are not competing with the arts teachers in their school. You are there to supplement their work, whether you're providing a performance or whether you're providing a workshop, right? You're not there to take over, you're there to add to their arts experience, okay? And if you want to grow your business from scratch, this is the first thing here: do not shun entry-level things. If you're a beginning teaching artist, volunteer in your local community for helping with your art, so that people get to know you. This is how you build a relationship. They see what you can do. They see that you're trustworthy. They see that you show up on time. They see that you dress appropriately. I mean, these things matter to the clients. And we are on the web, you don't know any of that. So unpaid internships, right? Are really great things. Coming into a school and helping. If you have kids in a school, be a parent volunteer and say, hey, and I'm an artist too. Can I help in that way, right? Now, for beginners as well as seasoned artists, along with what you want to do is you want to be beefing up your web presence. Be it your website, your Facebook page, your Twitter or Instagram account. You need to make sure that all of your electronic media, every message you send out, blends together and supports the message you want. If they don't, people don't think it's the same person. And we used to talk about a tabletop test, that your brochure and your poster and all this should all be, if you throw them on a tabletop, they should know it. It's the same thing happens electronically. Everything that is Yasu should look like Yasu, right? Whether it's your Instagram, whether it's your Facebook post, all of that should blend together. And you got to remember that the electronic part of this is important, because once somebody finds out about you, they're going to go to the web and Google you. And they will get photos of you, they will get residencies you've done, they will get comments about you in all different places, right? Consumers expect to have easy, tailored access to all the details about you. So make them prevalent. All right. And let's not forget the idea of research. Find and get your name on every roster and every directory that applies to you. Whether it's your local fire hall that does performances, let them know you exist, right? If it is your local arts council, if it's all the schools in your area, if there's a roster of artists, get on it. In South Carolina, as both Amanda and Kimberly have said, you cannot get work that's funded by the South Carolina Arts Commission unless you're on the artist directory. Pure and simple. So that is high. Rosters and directories are imperative, and you have to refresh them from time to time. You have to make sure they have your current information. As you do all of this, you will find teachers and administrators that are the most receptive, and take note of them, because they are the people that you go to for word of mouth. They are the people that will recommend you. They're the people, you know, they may not hire you right now, but they will say, you know, I was talking to so-and-so, and, right? And you must be persistent. This is not something you do and you walk away, right? Okay. Let's go to the next slide. What do you say? This is how I pitch one of my residencies, mime. If you notice, right, I try to keep it simple. You can see I begin with a description of the workshop, and then after that, I indicate which South Carolina college and career ready standards that I believe are the most relevant to the work. I do not list every single standard that could be involved. I don't use it like a Chinese menu. That's counterproductive. I do a little of this, I do a little English language arts, I do a little social studies, I do a little science. No. What are the main ones? What are you shooting for? Because this is what you want to push. So I chose theater and I chose English language arts because that's the best fit for my art form. Your art form may be different. You may be doing a writing project about scientists, and then you would want to put a science standard there. Okay, then let's go to the next slide. I also include a little bio. If they don't get it from me, they'll hear it from someone else. This is my message. I want them to know this, so I provide it to them. Whether it's on a printed piece of paper, whether it's in an email, whether it's on a website, in a roster, I let them know about me and I keep it short. All right. None of the people, and I have seen this on the South Carolina Arts Directory, people who put an entire vita on their arts directory listing. There's not a teacher in South Carolina that's going to read that whole thing. They also are not going to read the whole thing if you start out, I started singing at age 4. Right? No, keep it pertinent, keep it pithy, keep it short. All right, let's stop sharing. Questions? That was a lot. Keep it professional. Thank you, Sheila. When I was in kindergarten, I was chosen to be the bunny rabbit, and as everybody's saying, "Here comes Peter Cottontail," right? Yeah.
Yeah, Sue, do you have a question?
I have a question, Jeff. You said consumer expect to have an easy access of the program, about the detailed information. How about the price? Should we put price on the website? Like, should not to put the price on the website? I would love to have a thought on that.
Only put the price if you're willing to sell it yourself at that price everywhere in the world, because that's what the web is. If you post a price and somebody in Milwaukee hears it, Yasu, you have to go for that price. You can't renegotiate. It's in black and white. If somebody from Finland contacts you, so I would recommend, I don't put my prices,
Yeah.
and that's the first question people ask, and I give them a price. When I give them a price, it covers everything. I don't say, this is my price, and I need a supplies budget, and I need travel, and I need lodging, and no. Give them a price. Schools do not want a nickel and dime. And if in the previous webinar, Lori Patterson talked about that very clearly. When you give her a price, she wants to know what it's going to cost her, not that there are add-ons also.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally makes sense.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
just like you,
No question in the morning. I'm slow learner. Do you have the opportunity to email someone with? Yes, you can email me later, RD. That's why I gave you my email address and my phone number at the very beginning.
Also, can I
Okay.
just throw in, Yasu, that also when listing your price, like Jef said, you have to be willing to do it at that price everywhere, but that could be inclusive and exclusive. You may be working with a very small rural school district and you want to kind of make it accessible to them. And so you're choosing to charge them one thing when another school might have a much larger budget, much larger school. Your time there might be, it might be a much larger time commitment. And so you may choose to charge something different. So just kind of, that's my, you allow yourself the flexibility.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you.
That helpful, Yasu?
Yes, it is super. Thank you.
Well, and Yasu, you work in a lot of different markets, and different markets have different price points. The schools are not the same market as doing business webinars, business things that performing at business, events, right? And that. So it's just, that's what Kim's talking about. Sheila?
I figured out a long time ago that I'm really bad about numbers. And so I have been making a document for myself that has how much it costs me to drive 1 hour away and 2 hours away and 3 hours away, and how much it costs this year to stay in a hotel in a city and in a rural place. And so I've already figured out, if somebody in Asheville says, how much does it cost? I can look at my list and where I've already figured out that it's going to cost X dollars to drive there, and it's going to cost me X dollars to spend the night there, and it's going to cost me X dollars of food on the road per diem. So I found that very helpful, and I just wanted to brag about how smart I am. Because I'm really
need to know from Sheila,
to
that's high
numbers.
praise for herself, because when I met her, she would not do math. She refused. So she's come a long way. All right, anything else? Okay,
That
good.
information too, Jef, I'll just chime in that that's what a teacher's going to need too. Again, working if you're applying for grant funds, because they need to know how much to ask for the grant. So you need to be able to, tell them up front, this is my quote for all the different aspects of your residency, so that they can go and then request the correct amount of funds too to pay for that. So just you'll need to be able to give them accurate numbers.
And when you put your information on the arts directory, you have the option to tell what county you reside in South Carolina, or if you live in another area. And you can choose not to give that information if you would prefer it to remain private. But I will say that it is useful for schools who are looking for a teaching artist and they don't want to have to pay travel and hotel fees. They're looking for someone more local so that it's within their budget. So I do recommend that if you are on a directory and you can give your physical location, that's always a helpful marketing tool.
Well said. All right. Now, before we finish our time together, I'm going to touch on two more important elements: spreading your message beyond contacting your clients and getting to know your colleagues and other artists. So if we could go to the next slide, please. All right. Conferences and organizations, right? Conferences and organizations give you as an artist great opportunities to share your work in a collegial framework with like-minded individuals as well as potential clients. Now, yes, to join an organization, you have to pay your dues, right? And yes, to attend a conference, even if you present, you usually have to pay to attend the conference. But I contend that this is marketing expenses, and it is money well spent because you are rubbing shoulders with the people that you want to get to know. It is a great opportunity to build relationships, and in 90s parlance, to network, right? So here are some of the South Carolina, I only focus on South Carolina, conferences and organizations that I believe are relevant to the work of a teaching artist. And believe me, there are dozens more. These are just the ones I've chosen. Let's go to the next one. Okay. Palmetto State Arts Education Conference, the first one there. They focus on arts education and arts integration. It is attended by teachers, principals, district administration representatives, and superintendents. Sometimes the head of the Arts Commission comes. Sometimes the head of the Department of Education comes. And that's a bonus. All of a sudden, you shake their hand, they know your name, right? Those people are good at this. This is what they do, and they know that's where you need to be. All right. Now, at this particular conference, you can apply, just like everybody else, to teach a session. I am doing 2 sessions at the Palmetto State Arts Education Conference, one of them on assessing your arts integrated lesson, and the other on the latest research in arts integration, what it shows. Sheila is providing one of the sessions, and she's with us today. Amanda and Kimberly are providing a session, right? So we all know this is where you go to share work with your colleagues, and you become a colleague, not a teaching artist. That's the beauty of it. Everybody's on an equal footing. Now, the next 4, the Theater Association, the Dance Association, the Music Educators, and the Art Education Association, they are all genre specific. You decide which one of those you fit. And yes, you attend them and you join the organization, and you can provide workshops, sessions at the conference, and people come to it and they see you working, right? I have gone to the South Carolina Dance Association one because they are part of the Alliance for Health, PE, Recreation, and Dance. So at their conference, they have people from schools, they have people from recreation centers, and I shared a circus arts residency there. And so that was, you know, it's not just the theater people that might be interested. So choose wisely where you think, and see what they do. You might just go as an attendee the first time to get to know people. There's no shame in that, right? Okay. Down towards the bottom, the South Carolina Association of School Administrators. Those are the principals and the assistant principals of every school, everywhere. They don't just have one conference. They have conferences monthly, like 2 and 3, and each one is a specific topic. Sometimes they're called roundtables, sometimes they're called webinars, but you can talk to the movers and shakers of that organization once you learn about them and how you might fit, and offer to share something. Maybe you do a great workshop in social emotional learning that relates to arts, right? They would be very interested, something like that. So don't just stay with the arts organizations. And the final one, the South Carolina Alliance, Arts Alliance. They're the advocacy organization for the arts in South Carolina. They focus on legislative issues pertaining to the arts. If you want to rub shoulders with arts coordinators from school districts, heads of arts councils, if you want to rub shoulders with all of the members of the South Carolina Arts Commission and everybody and legislators, this is the place to be. And trust me, if you are there, it does a lot for your credibility. It means that as an artist, you are interested in supporting all of the arts, not just your business. And that's a big thing in marketing. They see you in another light. Not that you would, I've never presented, I performed at one of the Arts Alliance in North Carolina, but I've never presented anything, but I go and you get to know all the people that might hire you and their mother, right? So, okay, now, let me see, do I have another screen here? Yeah, let's go to the oh wait, yes, okay. Let's stop sharing the screen. That's what I wanted to do. I was on the wrong page. What questions do you have about all of that? Where conferences, organizations, imperative. When we were starting Touch Mime Theater, after a few years, we realized we wanted to be known as experts in our field. So we started attending conferences and doing mime workshops. And that was the beginning of understanding that what a great marketing tool conferences can be. Because people come to your workshop at the conference and they want you at their school or their college or their university. I mean, because you're an expert.
Yeah, I would say also, you know, a lot of arts teachers are experiential learners. They learn by participating in those experiences. And so when you can be there doing your work and those teachers are participating and they understand the feeling that they're getting in that environment, that's where it's at, to me at least.
Good. Yeah. Good idea. Sheila.
Jef, thank you so much for doing this. It's very, very helpful. And one thing I was going to ask about is, what about colleges and universities and community colleges as another market, and specifically the Arts Commission's funding? Does any of it go there for arts residencies or workshops?
Amanda, Kimberly?
So our term and summer art education project grants can go to higher education institutions. The South Carolina Arts Commission is also currently working with the South Carolina Technical College System to develop some arts integration pre-service training for preschool teachers. They have a preschool certificate program in the technical college system. And so we're kind of trying at the very early stages of collaborating with them to make sure that those pre-service teachers have some training in arts integration. So yes, there are opportunities. There hopefully will be more things coming down the pipeline as we continue with this work, but you can work with colleges and universities.
With those two grants. Good, Sheila?
And I'd also say that if it's a performance at a festival, for example, then that organization could write a grant for art project support, which is not managed through the Arts Learning Department. It's managed in our Arts Industry Department. But those could be, you know, if you have a university that's hosting an international festival and you want to perform, then they could write a grant to support that festival.
So this is Carlo. So for clarification, though, it is where you have to become a member or a registered teaching artist. And which site, I know there were two sites, which site is the site where the application is?
The South Carolina Arts Commission website is where you'll find the teaching art, the arts directory. And yes, to to be hired with funding from the Arts Commission, we do require that. Now, if you approach a college or a university or any other school and they are paying for it in another way, they may have different rules about that funding. But a lot of schools, especially, even if they're not funding it with Arts Commission, they still require that directory because of the vetting process. They sort of trust the vetting. So I always recommend going in that direction.
Okay, all right, thank you.
It's that element of trustworthiness, right? They don't know you from Adam, and we do the best we can. All right, finding colleagues. Let's move on. I talked about earlier about the importance of courting and working with your artist colleagues. I cannot tell you the number of times when I have recommended an artist to someone else when I couldn't do a job, and the number of times that other artists have recommended me to do a job. Knowing your colleagues and having a good relationship with them is wonderful. I went through, what I did was I Googled Artist Meetups South Carolina. And these are just some of the things I got, right? As you can see, they run the gamut from specific art farms to like the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition, which is everything cultural about the Gullah Geechee traditions, right? There are individual art forms, water media, writers, right? And this is, artist co-ops. This is how you find your colleagues. You join and you attend the meetings, and you get to know them. That's a wonderful way to meet them. All right. Now, if you noticed, you may have noticed my language choice about building relationships instead of selling. This is on purpose. I'm a proponent of the concept of relationship marketing. Let's go to the next slide. All right, this is actually a business term, right? When you focus on long-term customer engagement instead of just selling the product right now to this person this one time. All right, let's go to the next slide. Now, this is a wonderful little missive about it. To create strong, even emotional customer connections to your brand. That's you. That leads to ongoing business. And RD, free word of mouth comes from this, right? You build a relationship, that word of mouth goes. And, customers can generate leads for you, right? Saying, why not, you can say, hey, who else might be interested? And they will say, he might be, she might be, they might be. And that is really true in this market, that it becomes personal. And you also need to know that if you do focus on relationship marketing, you're more likely to get repeat buys from the same client, year after year after year. And I will, again, shame the devil and tell the truth. At my age and stage, 80% of my work is repeat work. So I only have 20% of my year that I have to worry about, right? And that is something to build, because if you attended my previous workshop, right, I said it's cheaper to retain a customer than to gain a customer. It costs 80% less. Actual dollars spent marketing, right? Actual time, effort, energy, 80% less to retain a customer. So if you are working on a relationship, you are making your life easier. Now, what are examples of this? Let's go to the next slide. Okay. These are good examples, and they all make sense, right? There's nothing rocket science about them, but I need you to know that for every residency in which I work, I converse with the client about their intentions, not just my intentions. What do they want to get out of it? Then I create and share the residency. And after completing the residency, I send to the client an overview of what was achieved in the residency, including the goals of the residency, activities of the residency, standards involved in the residency, and photos of the residency in progress. They get a document. Now, this document is nice for them to have, but what they use it most for is they include it with whoever gave them the money, granted them the money to bring me. They have to do a final report about how the money was spent. And I give them a document showing all of this, and they look really good to the funder. So they can get more money the next time because they have great documentation. That's good customer service. Okay. And yes, I offer discounts or bonuses to longtime repeat customers. I have a school this year who has always hired me for 1 week every year for the last 20 years. This year, they wanted 3. So I gave them a deal. You know, you buy in bulk, it's like Costco, right? I don't have a hot dog and a Coke to sell them for $1.50, but I do give them a deal, and that's a good idea. That's marketing, right? They're long time and repeat customers. All right, let's stop sharing the screen. What questions do you have? We're getting near the end.
Jeff, do you have more repeated customer for residency than performance in the school setting?
Yes,
Okay.
I have 80% of my residency customers
I
are
see.
repeat.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, who's asking that because we both performed at the same festival last weekend. We were
Yeah,
both at the
yeah.
Edinburgh festival, and I have been at that festival for 20 some years, and it was Yasu's first, and he'll be invited back now.
Oh,
Right?
thank you.
That's what I look for. And
Yes.
so he's, yeah. Okay.
Because for
All
performance,
right, Kimberly.
oh, sorry.
Oh, do you have another question?
Go ahead, Yasu. Okay. So if everybody will, this is your favorite part of every webinar, we have a really fast survey for you to take. You can click on the link right there. It'll take you to a Google form. And we would just love to have some feedback information from you about today's webinar, but also about future webinars and experiences, ways that the South Carolina Arts Commission can continue to support you through your career of teaching artistry. So if you do that right now, just have a couple of minutes left. While you're filling it out, if you get finished and you have a question you want to throw out to Jeff, we're more than happy to take questions during this survey time as well.
I feel like we should hear the music. Na 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 na. What is that, Jeopardy?
Yeah. Now's your time to perform, anyone who wants to sing to the group. To sing to the group.
They're working, Kimberly. They're filling out your form.
Thank you. Thank you. I know it's not the most exciting part, but it is so useful for us. So someone asked about updating your bio. If you're already a certified TA, that would be Amanda. Amanda can help you with that.
Jeff, I had a question. At the beginning, I was driving. Is it possible to get your information again?
You mean I have to type? Okay, I'm gonna do it.
Or either just go back in the slide, but I didn't get to get that because I was
can
driving
type it
home.
in.
Thank you.
Well, there we go.
And just for everyone, this session is being recorded and it will be posted to that YouTube playlist. That's the word I'm looking for, so that you can refer back to this particular presentation as many times as you want. It's also free and open to the public. So if you've enjoyed it, you really learned something, you know, another teaching artist who you think might be able to benefit from this information, we encourage you to share it there as well.
There you go.
This was so wonderful and helpful. Thank you so much. And then getting to see other teaching artists is also encouraging, because, you know, when you go to schools, it's only you. And then like, well, is there anyone else understands what's going through? And then seeing Jef and, you know, hearing from Jef and then connecting other teaching artists, seeing them are so encouraging. Thank you.
Great. All right. And let's quickly go through the last 3 slides. You ready, Amanda? Thank you, dear. All right, here's summing it all up. Do good work, document it, and share it. The most important thing. All right, next slide. All right, our next webinar on October 25th from 4 to 5:30 will be how to assess your arts integrated lessons. Now, this is important because we are teaching artists, we will be asked, what do you want the students to know or be able to do when you're done? And you must be able to talk this talk with the educators. And that's what we'll be working on here. All right, so join us again in a month. And our final slide, I want to thank all of you for joining us today and squandering part of your wonderful week with us. I know you're all busy. I'd like to thank Amanda and Kimberly for joining me and sharing all of their expertise, invaluable. And I want to officially thank the South Carolina Arts Commission, the South Carolina Department of Education, the South Carolina ABC Project, Arts in the Basic Curriculum Project, and ArtsGrowSC. They are the big partners in creating these webinars. All right, so if you'll stop the share, a big group hug. All right, thank you all.